Hi everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled AND, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Our first coincidence miracle is from a woman who wrote to us and told us that she was in a caustic relationship with a man. They weren't married, but they were living together. And she felt she was in a prison. She was mentally forced to stay there based on the kinds of things that were happening, the kinds of things that the man would say, faulting her about a lot of things, and citing her for the problems that he was having, etc., etc. So she was made to feel responsible for all the negativity in their relationship and in his life. Apparently his life was not working out too well either. And so one day, after putting up with this for a long time, she didn't say how long, but it seemed to me she was putting up with it for a couple of years. One day she went off to a church to pray, and she said she is positive, she was inspired that the only thing she could do that's going to make anything better is to break up. So she gathered whatever little things she had and whatever little money she had, and she packed up and left. She got a friend to put her up for a little while, and in the process she met, because she was living in a certain area now where their friend's house was, she met a person in that area that she would have never met if she hadn't been living in that area, another man. And now she said she has the most wonderful relationship. She's sure that she was inspired when she went to pray to break up. She's sure that that was the right thing to do. She felt tremendous peace about that decision, even though she didn't know where she was going to live and needed a friend to put her up. But everything is balanced out now, and she has the most wonderful relationship, and she encourages everybody to pray and ask God for wisdom. And she's positive if you ask God for wisdom and you ask God for help, you will get it. So it's a great miracle story for people who don't believe that if you ask God questions, He does in fact answer you. Our next coincidence miracle is similar to some in the past, but I can't wait to tell you. I go to beaches during the summertime, so this story relates to the first summer break day for colleges in our area. It was the first day off from college, and I was passing out cards at the beach, and I came upon a group of like 15 men and 15 women. I couldn't believe it. They were all celebrating this first day, first day of summer for college students. And they were doing a lot of things, playing balls, playing cards, singing songs. And I couldn't resist. I mean, the opportunity to talk to 30 people all at once was really fantastic. So I gave my little story about my book, handed out 30 cards, and I didn't expect what happened next. But they all stood up and started to clap. It was the first standing ovation I ever got at the beach. And the next thing that happened was there were people around us who had overheard what I was saying. I guess your voice carries on top of the ocean. And so they came over clapping and asked for cards as well. I didn't know they heard me. It was amazing. I think I handed out another 20 cards for people that were overhearing what we were doing. By the way, the 30 students kept asking me questions, so this whole presentation took something like 25 minutes. And now I know why Jesus went to preach at the seashore, because your voice does carry on the water. And I think people at the beach get bored after a while, and they look forward to somebody breaking up their boredom. But this was amazing, and I hope you can take on my joy of having the opportunity to say my story once to a total of about 50 people, all in one statement of time, because usually I'm handing out cards to people 2 at a time, and this was amazing. 30 people from college, and then the people around was probably another 20 people. We were having a great day. Our next coincidence miracle is from someone who tells us they had misplaced their golf clubs at home, somewhere around home, because they had used them the last time they went to play golf, and they couldn't find them. They looked in all the obvious places. They said, golf clubs are not things that you should not be able to notice. And they looked several times. So finally, they asked a friend of theirs because they believed in their friend's power of prayer, they asked a friend of theirs to pray to St. Anthony, who is famous for, if you ask St. Anthony to help you find lost items. And he said it was 5 minutes after he asked that he found the club. So he wanted to give credit to St. Anthony where credit was due. 5 minutes after he asked St. Anthony to help, they found the clubs. Our next coincidence miracle also happened at the beach. I was passing out cards, and I have my normal pitch, hand out the cards and say similar things. And so I had just explained that the word idea tells us that God is speaking to us because it's I plus Deo, and Deo is the Latin word for God, and that we do get inspired by God. The Spirit of God comes into us and talks to us. I explain how the Bible is filled with passages that say that God does speak to us. And the 10,000 saints that we've documented, the lives of 10,000 saints over the last 2,000 years. If you read the lives of the saints, you'll notice that the saints spoke to God with mental telepathy. I don't think I found one saint that did not have mental telepathy. Sometimes they hear voices, but most of the time it's mental telepathy. And it's basically logical because there's 7 billion people on the planet, 7 billion, and if God spoke audibly to 7 billion, it would be very noisy all day long. And everybody would know what God's telling you and whatever God's telling me if God was speaking audibly. So the fact that God speaks using mental telepathy is pretty obvious if you read the lives of the saints. And if you ask God questions, you'll notice you get inspirations and ideas as answers. So I had explained this as I was handing out the card. And the woman I handed it to looked at me with a smile on her face, a look of peace, but she had huge tears coming out of her eyes. And I was startled, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Nothing's wrong. I have to tell you, I'm so delighted that you just came by and said what you just said, and I'm delighted about your card." She said, "I came here today because I was here 2 weeks ago with my mother, and my mother has since passed away, and I came here with her ashes," and she showed me the urn of her mother's ashes. She said, "I came here today with my mother's ashes, and I've been here for about a half an hour now, asking God to please show me some clue show me something to make me have peace that my mother is okay. Is she all right? Is she in a good place? I hear about all the stories of what it's like when you die, and I'm concerned if my mom is okay. And I've been here half an hour asking, and I haven't been hearing anything. And you just came by explaining. I was listening for a voice, and you just explained that it's internal. And I have been getting internal peaceful comments. So she said, I'm just so delighted to tell you that if you didn't come by, I wouldn't realize I was getting the answer that my mom is fine. She's in a very great place. And I thank you for coming by, giving me the card. So I have to tell you, listening to me, I'm sharing this because this is what happens when we tell people what we know about God, because God inspires us to do that. In other words, God had me go to the beach this day. There's 4 beaches where I go to hand out cards, 4 beaches in one location. And he got me to go to the correct beach, number 3. This was the 3rd beach out of 4, because this is where the woman was. And it was the first person I approached on that beach. Absolutely the first person that I saw as I got to the beach. So you can rest assured, if you're trying to do something good, and you're trying to do what God is telling you, these are the kinds of things you will experience. And the Bible is clear about this, especially if you read in the book of Mark 16:20, okay? Take a look at Mark chapter 16, verse 20, and you'll see that people who are out trying to help other people understand God have miracles like this happening to them all the time over the last 2,000 years. One day at the beach, after passing out cards for about an hour and a half, I guess probably made about 12 presentations in an hour and a half, handing out the cards, answering questions, I came upon some college students, 4 men and 3 women. I think they were sophomores at college, and they asked a lot of questions. I was really amazed what a group this was. They asked a lot of questions, so I wound up covering things like convincing them that God speaks to you with mental telepathy. It's not sound. I told them about 10,000 saints, and if God spoke audibly to 7 billion people, it would make a lot of noise, so they got that. I told them how God is present everywhere, in every atom, in every molecule. God is present in everything. I explained to them that when you look at the ocean, you see an ocean, but when God looks at the ocean, he sees drops of water, and he is totally, fully present in every single drop, and that's to help us understand that he's present in every atom, every molecule in the universe. In the beginning, before he made anything tangible, everything was invisible. There was nothing there but only him alone in the entire universe, just him, present in every atom of space, every molecule of space. And like a squid or an octopus can land on a rock and camouflage itself, a squid, all of the molecules and atoms in the squid turns into molecules that match the rock, so the squid becomes invisible, camouflage, looks like a rock, and then it can catch its prey for food. Well, God, all of his molecules became tangible things. Like when he made the planet Earth, his atoms, his molecules that were invisible now became Earth. When he made people, his atoms, molecules became people. Well, these people asked a lot of questions, so they got a lot of information. I've been teaching Sunday school for 45 years, read the Bible 10 times, so I had a lot of answers. I gave them all the answers. They were so blessed and happy. I've never seen 7 people as happy as they were. They all came over and hugged me, thanked me for all the input. They'd never heard anything like this before in one sitting, and I was greatly blessed by God. Again, look in the book of Mark 16:20. And you see how the apostles also experienced this joy and happiness when they were telling people about God too. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.